Sometimes these are seen in the sky over the areas where these things occur. Next. Sometimes it's these things with something going up and down from them. Next. Sometimes these things are found, they're being found all over England. One of the incredible things about the crop circles in England is they are literally a vestige of some kind. There's a book called The Father of Lies. In the back of that book, it gives an example of the cipher that the secret societies used in ancient times to communicate with their members so that people who were not initiates would not learn the secrets of the society. The symbols of their cipher match exactly the crop circles found in the ground in England. Now this was by accident that I ran across this. There's a woman in California who lives in Victorville, who is a wonderful woman, discovered this. She had been looking at pictures of crop circles. She had the book, Father of Lies, and she was reading the book, and it struck her all at once. These are the same. And so she let us know, and we have verified it. They are exactly the same. Secret societies have a lot to do with what's going on, believe me. Next slide. Sometimes these things are seen. Next slide. Always they find this. Next. Then we got to wondering, gosh, all through history there's records of people and animals being found with the blood sucked out of them. Is this the source of the vampire legends? Way back through history, we have found that there are accounts of animals and humans who have been mutilated in this classic manner. Next slide, please. This is some of the information a man by the name of Bill English has released. It is some of the exact information that I saw while I was in naval intelligence. He was working as while he was working in England at a national security agency, listening post really, and he saw the same documents there. Next slide. This is UFO observer's instruction sheet from the Air Technical Intelligence Command, which tells you how to report UFOs at a time when the United States Air Force said they were not reporting UFOs, didn't care about UFOs, they didn't exist. Next. Next. These are all official Air Force forms. Next. 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 Now this is part of Air Force Regulation number 200-2 Alpha, unidentified flying objects, intelligence. Now, this is significant. The Air Force is not supposed to lie to us, but they were telling us, no, UFOs do not exist. We're not interested in UFOs. There is no evidence of UFOs, and anybody that says they say a UFO is crazy. We don't care about UFOs. Yet they have written a U.S. Air Force regulation called 200-2. And this says on the cover sheet, direct communication is authorized between ATIC and other Air Force activities in matters pertaining to UFO investigation. Specifically, the ATIC may call upon the commander of the 1127th Field Activity Group, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, to conduct further field investigations if review of the initial report indicates such a requirement. In this event, the headquarters, 1127th U.S. Air Force Field Activity Group, will prepare the final report by order of the Secretary of the Air Force, Thomas D. White, Chief of Staff. Next page. This tells how to report it, what forms to use, identifying information, weather and winds, comments of preparing officer, classification, time and date of sighting, manner of observation. Next. General information, releasing information. That's funny. Releasing information, it says under here. All information of releases concerning UFOs, regardless of origin or nature, will be released to the public or unofficial persons or organized by the Office of Information Services Office of the Secretary of the Air Force. This includes replies to correspondence except congressional inquiries submitted direct to ATIC and other Air Force activities by private individuals. Exceptions. In response to local inquiries resulting from any UFO reported in the vicinity of an Air Force base, information regarding a sighting may be released to the press or the general public by the commander of the Air Force base concerned only if it has been positively identified as a familiar or known object. Next, please. And it goes on, but we just don't have the time. This is how to report one that moves around in the sky. Next. 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 People always ask me, why don't they just fly around the White House? Well, there's a UFO. This photograph was taken in the early 50s, and that's certainly the White House. Next slide. Those are not butterflies. The truth is, in the early 50s, there was extensive UFO activity in the immediate area of the White House on an almost nightly basis over a long period of time. It is in the headlines of the newspapers. Pilots were scrambled in their aircraft to go and get them out of the airspace around the White House because it's prohibited airspace. And every time they would scramble, get in their planes, take off, the UFOs would disappear. The pilots would go back and land, the UFOs would come back. This kept happening night after night after night until the pilots got so disgusted and so frustrated they wouldn't even get in their planes anymore. Next slide. This is another, this is 200-2 identified flying objects UFO. This is the rest of it. Go ahead, next. All Air Force regulations. Next. Okay, I told you earlier about implants. Let me show you where these implants are being found in human beings. We don't know who's putting them there. The people who are being abducted are telling us that they are alien extraterrestrial beings from outer space. They all tell the same story. They all describe the craft exactly the same. They all describe the beings in the craft the same. They all have describes the same things that have not been made public knowledge, and they don't know each other. And these are people from all around the world. One of the best abductee researchers that I know is here in this room with us, Robin Quayle. One of the implants is inserted up through the nose and is lodged next to the optic nerve in this region. Another implant is inserted beneath the skull cap next to the medulla oblongata in this region. Another implant is found subcutaneously behind usually the right ear and can be seen and felt. I always like to watch everybody feel behind their right ear when I say that. Implants have been found in the wrist, in the calf, and in the lower arm. Next slide. Now, this is very strange because just before these began happening and after we began finding these implants, we began noticing newspaper articles like this. Computer chip implants can help find lost pets, and it goes to outline how this happens. And it tells us that the sheriff's department or the police department in the cities are given electronic equipment to communicate with a satellite that the government has put up. And if you put an implant in your pets, this satellite can find your pet wherever it is when it's lost, and your local law enforcement people, by tuning into this satellite with their electronic equipment, can tell you where your pet is and go get it. Then, next slide, please. Then you hear Dan Rather on the 6 o'clock news say that the pet implant program has worked so well that 97% of all lost pets that have been implanted are being found and returned to their owners, that you should have your children implanted. He said this in 1989. Then you see in the Los Angeles Times, not the National Enquirer, ladies and gentlemen, the Los Angeles Times on 12/12/89, forecast 10 changes for the coming decade. And one of those 10 changes, number 4 in fact, will become necessary in the future with the availability and widespread use of electrical and chemical implants that will allow 24-hour-a-day control of individuals' behavior. Now are you beginning to get interested in the abductee experience? I hope that you are. You might be next. Next slide. This is just a letter to me from another researcher. Next slide. Who sent me this? It's in my book. It's the Foreign Broadcast Information Service, Foreign Press Note. The Foreign Broadcast Information Service is a division of the Central Intelligence Agency, which monitors foreign broadcasts on radio, television, military, civilian broadcast waves, and gleans information. This entire report, each paragraph is a separate report of flying saucer or UFO reports in the Soviet Union during the period covered by this report, and this report was issued 22 November 1989. You never heard of any. Every paragraph. One of these paragraphs refers to a crashed craft on a hill from which they recovered pieces of technology that we're not capable of manufacturing. Next page, please. All of these. Now you see at the top is what they found up here. You look closer so I can read it. Some of the scientists have concluded that the object that crashed into Hill 611 was an extraterrestrial space vehicle constructed by highly intelligent beings. Doctor of Chemical Sciences V. Vysotsky, it's a good thing I'm not Russian, I couldn't talk, stated that without doubt this is evidence of a high technology and it is not anything of a natural or terrestrial origin. He cited the fact that the remnants of fine mesh included bits of thin threads with a diameter of only 17 microns, and that these threads in turn were composed of even thinner strands twisted into braids. Extremely thin gold wires were discovered intertwined in the finest threads, evidence of an intricate technology beyond the present capabilities of terrestrial science, according to this man that I can't pronounce his name. Next slide, please. And it continues. Next. Next. And I was marking some of the locations. There's a mark on here somewhere. Right here. There's one of the locations, one of the reports. Next slide. These are some of the others. I didn't mark every one of them. I marked the important ones in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Next slide, please. This is the first known civilian photograph of a UFO. Next slide. This is a letter, the Gerald Light letter. This letter is absolutely astounding. It confirms everything that I've been saying. Nobody knew that this letter even existed until Bob Exler presented it at the 1989 MUFON Symposium in Las Vegas. He presented this on July the 1st. I had already issued my information that this confirms on May the 23rd of the same year. In here, he says, "My dear friend, I've just returned from Muroc." Remember I told you Muroc is Edwards Air Force Base now. "The report is true, devastatingly true. I made the journey in company with Franklin Allen of the Hearst Papers and Edwin Norris of Brookings Institute, Truman's erstwhile financial advisor, and Bishop McIntyre of LA. Confidential names for the present, please. When we were allowed to enter the restricted section after about 6 hours, in which we were checked on every possible item, event, incident, and aspect of our personal and public lives, I had the distinct feeling that the world had come to an end with fantastic realism, for I have never seen so many human beings in a state of complete collapse and confusion as they realized that their own world had indeed ended with such finality as to beggar description. Can you get the sense of what this guy had gone through? The reality of other plane aeroforms is now and forever removed from the realms of speculation and made a rather painful part of the consciousness of every responsible scientific and political group. During my 2 days visit, I saw 5 separate and distinct types of aircraft being studied and handled by our Air Force officials with the assistance and permission of the Etherians. Notice he calls them Etherians, which means that he attaches some spiritual significance to them. And notice also that he capitalizes Etherians, signifying that he may have viewed them as gods. I have no words to express my reactions. It has finally happened. It is now a matter of history. President Eisenhower, as you may already know, was spirited over to Muroc one night during his visit to Palm Springs recently. And it is my conviction that he will ignore the terrible conflict between the various authorities and go directly to the public via radio and television if the impasse continues much longer. Well, we know that he didn't do that. And it goes on. We don't have time to read it all. It's in my book in the appendix. Those of you who get the book, you can read it at your leisure. Next. This is the second page. Next. This is Bishop McIntyre. Next. There's old Ike. Remember the slogan, "We like Ike"? Ike started this crap. Next. There he is again. Remember what Ike said to us when he left office? Does anybody remember that? He tried to warn the American people against a group, a powerful group within the defense industrial complex, which might seize unwarranted power and destroy this country. And nobody listened to him. Next. I think he would have said a lot more, but he didn't want to die. Was this one of the little guys he met? Or is this for our entertainment? Next. Is this one of the little guys? Now, this is a very well-known photo that's been leaked out to the public. It's been thoroughly debunked by everybody in the world, but it's never been proven false. Never been proven to be a fraud. Nobody knows where it came from. Now, I hope you all know what debunked means. Let me show you what debunked means. What's your name, ma'am? No, it's not. What's your name? No, it's not. What's your name? No, it's not. That's what debunked means. Next slide. One of the things that I saw and I talked about earlier was that there was an elite group of scientists called the Jason Group, administered by a corporation which at that time was not the MITRE Corporation, but is the MITRE Corporation now. I talked about that all over the country. People said, "You're crazy." Well, I found reference to them in the Pentagon papers that were leaked by Daniel Ellsberg. And in the Pentagon papers, it said that the Jason Group had invented and come up with the electronic barrier that was placed across the DMZ of Vietnam to detect and prevent the North Vietnamese regulars from coming across the border. I was there on the DMZ. It didn't work, so they're not as smart as they think they are. But they do exist. Some people submitted Freedom of Information Act requests and actually got the truth out of the Pentagon. The first official acknowledgement that they exist. We submitted one and got it, but what I'm going to show you is not what I got, because people always doubt what I get, so I'm going to show you what somebody else got. Richard Whitmire of the Gannett News Service published this in the Olympian in Washington, and this is what he found. Next slide. He found that these guys are incredible. They have the highest security clearances in the nation. There are several Nobel Prize winners in the group. They hold the protocol rank of Rear Admiral, which is 2 stars, whenever they visit any military installation, ship, airplane, Air Force base, or government facility. They are paid $500 a day consulting fee, and they are literally some of the best brains in this country. Next slide. Next. And these are some of the lists. These are some of them. There is only one woman among them. Her name is Claire Max. Let me see if I can find her. I think she's on the next slide. There she is, Claire E. Max, Institute of Geophysics and Planetary Physics, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. What do they need with a planetary physicist in a government consulting group? Next. Next. I always try to point out what's happening with women because I'm very sensitive to women's needs nowadays. I think, really, truthfully, if the world were run by women, we wouldn't be in this situation. Next. This is Bob Exler's idea of what the cover-up structure looks like. He believes wholeheartedly that to have a cover-up of this kind, involving this kind of technology, you would have to have full support from what we call corporate America. Now, this would be very easy in this country because who is corporate America? It's literally the Council on Foreign Relations. And I'm going to show you later that not only is this possible, it's probably absolutely right on. Next. Next, we've already looked at this. This is a piece of film that was sent to Leonard Stringfield, who is another researcher, who, the person who sent this film said that this was an alien extraterrestrial body recovered from a craft that had been burnt. I've looked at this at every angle that I possibly can think of, and I can't tell what in the world it is, except that you can sort of get a sense that it's probably biological something. Next. This was also sent to Leonard Stringfield, and the same thing was purported to be said. They said that this was the burned body of a crashed extraterrestrial being from a crashed spaceship. And this one is a fraud. Because right here, under the body, is a pair of Air Force flight glasses. I've seen enough of those in my life to know exactly what they are. Next. This is an official U.S. The newsreels captured it. We went down to watch Roy Rogers on Saturday morning, and they showed us this thing hopping around on the flight line in front of a bunch of reporters in bleachers, and it never went anywhere. It just sort of hopped around, and the pilot had this incredible, terrified look on his face. Next slide. This is a photograph taken at a junkyard at a, I believe it was White Sands test range. Nobody knows what it is. Looks like a mad welder went wild. Next. This is a photograph. It's supposed to be able to learn how well parachutes of different designs work with this thing. Is that true? I don't know. Next. This is another one. We couldn't figure out what this is used for. We compared the shape and the size of this to the known nose cowlings of large aircraft, and we haven't been able to find anything that it fits. But there's a lot of experimental aircraft that you never get to see, so that doesn't mean anything really. Next. These are photographs of 3 UFOs, or actually 4. One's almost out of the photograph up there, over a power plant. They seem to really like power plants. They're seen a lot, especially around nuclear power plants. If my theory about the cattle mutilations is correct, that might explain it. Next slide. February 27th, 1951. Isn't Lassie beautiful? Next slide. This advertisement was in this magazine. Flying mobile camper of the future may be electric powered, plugging into any electric outlet for recharging. Now this is during the period of time when people like Herman Oberth, the world-renowned rocket scientist who was the teacher to Dr. von Braun, was saying that we couldn't take credit for all the technology that we've developed in the last decade. And when the reporter asked Dr. Oberth, what do you mean? What other nations helped us? He said, it wasn't another nation, son. It was those little guys from out there. And security people grabbed him and hustled him right out of the press conference. That was at his retirement. It was also the same period of time when William P. Lear, John Lear's father, said on a television talk show, when asked what he could see for the future, he said, you will be able to get into a phone booth in Los Angeles and step out in New York City. And he wasn't joking, and the audience laughed at this man. This was one of the bigwigs in the defense industrial complex who knew exactly what was being researched in our laboratories at that time. Next slide. And also in this magazine, this scientist, Richard Wilson, exposes flying saucers. He says what they've been saying for day one, they're weather balloons. Next slide. Albert Einstein. If, in fact, extraterrestrials were real and we had recovered that technology, I'm sure that Albert Einstein would have known about it, would have been in on it in one way or another. Next slide. And he may have known about things like this, the proceedings of the Lunar and Planetary Exploration Colloquium. May 13th, 1958. Look at that date because it's very significant when you look at what's in this book. And I'm going to show you a few pages. I've got this book at home. I guard it carefully because it's the only copy that's ever been able to be located, and I've got it. Introduction to the Initiating Group, Scientific Aspects of the Lunar Surface. How did they find that out? The physical characteristics of the lunar surface. The geological aspects of the interior of the moon. Evolution and nature of the lunar atmosphere. Didn't someone tell us that there was no lunar atmosphere? Isn't that correct? Or was I not paying attention that day? Next slide. In this paragraph, they say the introduction to the initiating